5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome to the GHT Overland Podcast, where we visit with overland travelers and explorers around the globe, learning from their experiences and enjoying their stories. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lisa. We are from a little city called Washougal in Washington State, known as the entrance to the Columbia River Gorge. Today's featured guests are David and Raquel with Lost for Days. They have been overlanding for 8 months in their 1998 Toyota Land Cruiser after shipping it from California around the Darien Gap. We are catching up with Raquel and David before they fly home in a week for a 6-month working period. Then they will return to finish their overlanding trip.
So, without further ado, welcome to the podcast, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited.
Where are you guys currently?
We're in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Yeah.
Cool. So what time is it there?
It's 4 hours.
It is 2:30.
Yeah.
2:30 in the afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Cool. So we're at 10:30 in the morning.
I want to be where they're at.
You want to skip ahead?
Yeah, I do.
It's very nice here.
Yeah.
So fill us in on any blanks on that intro, along with a little more information on what inspired a trip like this for you.
What would you say inspired the trip, David?
Well, it was, I think what happened was, for me at least, it was we were on a little, like a 10-day vacation up to Alaska with some other friends. And we took a cruise to get to Alaska. And then from there, we rented a camper truck, like a truck with a camper shell on it. And we kind of did our own like first taste of overlanding for a little bit. And fell in love like immediately with the freedom to be able to go wherever you want and stay as long as you want in certain areas. And then we met a couple other travelers and we were all excited and we asked them, hey, so how long are you guys, as you talk, how long are you guys going to be in Alaska? And they're like, oh, well, we're here for like 2 months and then we travel here for another 3 months and then we go here for another 2 months. And I was just thinking like, oh, wow, like we have 10 days to enjoy, all of this. And from that moment on, I just wanted like long-term travel. Like I wanted to do something a little where we could really get into a country and enjoy it, That was at least for me.
And then we had the opportunity to do it last year with a career change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we, 8 months later, went on the road.
That's awesome. So like 2 months is a lot better than 10 days, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 11 days is a lot better than 10 days.
You can see a lot more and experience a lot more.
Yeah.
So that's pretty great.
And Raquel, were you just as excited about his thought process of extension to travel?
I think I've always wanted to do long-term travel, but in the last few years, we've gotten comfortable living at home. Our careers are doing better. We're going to be buying a house. We were going to be having kids. And so then when he's like, let's just sell everything and go, I was like, well, yeah, I do like to travel, but I don't know if I'm ready for that. And then we started looking at pictures of places we would want to go. And within like 2 days, I was sold.
That didn't take long.
Excellent.
No.
So is this your first overland trip?
Yes.
So once you guys kind of decided to do that and Raquel was okay, we're good to go. How long did it take you before you shipped the vehicle and off you went to another country?
Well, it was, there was the whole planning phase. So we didn't ship. So we actually started from California and then made our way down to Baja.
Okay.
And so we crossed into Mexico first and then took a ferry from Baja over to the mainland Mexico, Mazatlan, and then just continued south. But before that, all the planning and getting the rig ready for the trip took us about 7 to 8 months, roughly. So
okay.
the first thing was finding which platform we wanted to build our Overlander on and kind of figuring out what works best for us, or what we thought works best for us.
Okay. So tell us about that vehicle. And if there's a name for the vehicle, we absolutely need to have that too.
Her name's Whistle.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Because
Whistle.
she whistled a lot when we got her.
We couldn't find the whistle, like where it was coming from. So we'd get up to speed at like, 60 kilometers an hour, and just this irritating, like piercing whistle would be breaking into the car and driving.
I couldn't hear David talking in the
terrible.
car.
Oh, wow. Was that loud?
Well, that's when you just
but we
start
finally
singing.
found it. Yeah.
Yes. But she is a 1998 Toyota Land Cruiser. It's a 100 series, and we did a lot of modifications, but that's our platform.
After about 6 weeks of searching on Craigslist and Auto Trader and just a bunch of other ways to look for one, we found a seller near us
on Craigslist
who was like a soccer mom who never used any of the four-wheel driving parts of the car. So it was like almost a new car. Had 230,000 miles on it. And so the first thing we did was I ordered a new remanufactured engine from Texas for like another $1,000, $1,500 or whatever. And then we swapped the engine just for peace of mind. We probably didn't need to do that, but I don't know. So, and then we just kind of kept doing a lot of overland, quote unquote, modifications to the car.
Are you happy with those modifications, or is there things that you would do differently if you did it all over again?
I think we've been talking a lot about a future overland vehicle. We want something that has more of a live-in space, and I think in the future we'll try to keep it more simple and lighter. We're still talking about that, but as far as what we have right now, is there anything you'd do differently, David?
Yeah, a couple things.
The platform itself, though, with the single vehicle. Now, do you guys have like a rooftop tent, or what's your sleeping setup?
We have a rooftop tent, and there's we put some mats in there and some sleeping bags, and that's about it.
Okay, and you're pretty happy with the way that works?
I would say,
with great hesitation.
Yes. Yeah, no. I love the rooftop tent. It feels like you're in a tree house or something when you're in it, and it's really fun. But for any sort of longer term travel, because we've been in it for 8 months now, and we've been through all sorts of terrain and altitudes and climates, and so if you're going to go for a weekend or a week or two long camping trip, a rooftop tent I think would be perfect. But if you're because it's raining, so we don't have a lot of indoor space. So there's been nights where we'd have to eat our dinner in the front seat of the car because we're either waiting for the rain to stop before we pop the tent open or whatever the situation is. So it is quite limiting. So what I would say is, for me personally, if it was a longer trip like this, I wouldn't want to use a rooftop tent. But if it's, anything else, yeah, a rooftop tent would be an awesome way to go.
Okay, cool.
And what's the one thing you value the most, either on or in your vehicle?
The fuel aux tank.
Yeah, the auxiliary fuel tank.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Just because it gets you a lot more mileage so you can go further?
Yeah.
Yeah, and being that our car doesn't have a lot, or what would you call that? Our mile per gallon is kind of poor.
Yeah.
And so we go through gas quite a bit. And if we only had the main tank, we would be stopping for gas a lot.
All the time.
And
there's
couples that do, they have to stop all the time.
There's just some of the roads we've traveled and some of the places we've been, particularly the Lagunas route in Bolivia, southern Bolivia.
We're very remote.
There is nothing there. And we would have to carry 10 jerry cans to...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we made it through. Yeah, afterwards, okay, we need to fill up. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah. Maybe not 10, maybe 6.
Quite a few.
It's still a lot, though. Yeah, because the auxiliary fuel tank that's an extra 40 gallons, and our primary is 25. So we have 65 gallons of fuel in our car.
Yeah, so that's really helpful. Is that located underneath the vehicle then?
Yeah, that's where the spare tire would normally go. And we had to have it shipped from Australia because they're the masters of overlanding stuff. So
yeah. Okay, cool. So anything that you guys originally packed that you never used and ended up removing from your setup?
So much.
That's awesome.
So much.
A lot of recreation gear that we thought we were going to use, like rock climbing gear, snorkeling stuff.
We used it occasionally, but it wasn't
enough to take up our precious space in the car.
And clothes, we packed too many clothes. Well, one of us packed too many clothes. And
wetsuits.
So
a lot
David,
of little stuff.
Was that you that had too many clothes?
Right, babe?
No, it was more of I'm more of a board shorts and then 2 pair of pants kind of guy, you know. So I was pretty light.
Right.
That's awesome.
So along your route, tell us about your current top 2 or 3 destinations, along with a little detail on why you enjoyed them so much.
Yeah, this is a hard one.
I know your favorite. You should tell yours.
All right. So this is probably the favorite, like the top one, but it kind of like is neck and neck with another one. So we did in Guatemala, we stayed in Antigua for like a week for Spanish classes and stuff. And while we were there, we did Acatenango. Volcan Acatenango, which is like this hike that you do, and then the volcano is right next to an active volcano, which is El Fuego. So you actually get to camp on this ridge line overlooking an active volcano that is erupting probably once every like 5 minutes or so. So you're maybe 300 meters, about like roughly.
It's close.
Yeah, and you see these giant